Part 6, the care plan. I've just rustled up and found my care plan from 2019. So, what is a care plan? I briefly mentioned it in one of the earlier videos. It's a document that explains who are your carers in an emergency, what medications you are taking, who in your family you need to contact, what signs show you are becoming unwell. And there can be loads of other stuff, as I will show you in my care plan soon. But those are the most important things that need to be in your care plan. Okay, so there are different types of care plans. For dealing with panic attacks, if you have those. For going back to work, you can make a care plan. For acting, if I started getting unwell, so what do I do when I'm starting to get unwell? What do I need to do? For going into labour for a second child, you can have a care plan for that. Yes. So here is the example of my care plan, which is really quite detailed, this one. I'll show you it just on the screen quickly. So it's got 1, 2, 3 pages. Yeah, it's really quite extensive. I'll tell you what's in my care plan. We won't read the whole thing because maybe it's a bit too much. So I've got self-care from sane.org, which is a website that has stuff on being unwell. There's having a mood diary. So in my normal diary, I write about what I'm going through and whether anything in particular happens on certain days. So if I get angry or something, or I yell at my kids excessively, I write these things in my diary, which is my mood diary as well. Triggers: alcohol, going to bed late, changing diet or exercise, missing meds. Those are the main triggers. I don't drink alcohol anymore. My dose of medications is too high that even when I have a small amount of alcohol, I get really unwell. So I stopped having alcohol anyway. I don't have it at all anymore. And I ask my husband for a reality check. Sometimes he might be more noticing things going a bit weird than me. But often it's actually me that notices before him. I've got a thing saying prodrome additional warning signs. So, and then I've got just normal warning signs. And then I've got a wellness plan, my wellness plan, who to contact, continue medication, watch my finances, maintain my routine, stay healthy, postpone big decisions, avoid staying high a little longer. This is a really important point that I cannot stress enough. If you notice that you're starting to get really bad racing in your brain or something, you don't wait to act. You act now. You tell the doctor it's happening. You take extra medication. You take time off work. You stay home. You try and chill out. You go it's like you almost need to go into a dark, silent cave and try and find a way to slow that all down, that process of becoming manic. Yeah, we definitely don't stay high a little longer. And then I've got avoid triggering situations like conflict, fantasies, stress. Then I've got a self-care toolbox. Self-care toolbox. Limit activities and tasks to less than 6 hours a day. Don't exhaust yourself. Avoid stimulating surroundings, music videos, music movies. avoid caffeine and soft drink, sleep all night, do calming activities, walking, yoga, breathing, relaxing music, quiet bath, these sorts of things. Then I've got on the other side the emergency action plan. So who are all my emergency contacts in my family and the doctors? Then I've got what medication I'm on. And then I've got treatment preferences. So where do I want to get treated? Which doctors that I like. Well, I'll read it. I'll read you whatever. Let's read it. So it says Hornsby Hospital. So I was living in Hornsby. Madison Medical Practice. That's the GPs. Doctors to talk to my husband Vincent and my mum Annie. Since when I was in acute, they wouldn't talk to both of them. If I have to go back on the these medicines, then I approve of it. And I said I hope I don't have to have ECT again because I'm worried it may one day give me seizures. The decision needs to be made together with my mum and husband if I'm incapable of deciding. I don't want to go into a mother and baby unit. I prefer to go into the same wards as last time because these are now familiar. And later I've talked about the mother and baby unit. Because I can talk about it now as well. It's okay. I wasn't in one, and there's a lot of people that think they should have them, that they're really important. In my personal experience, I'm happy that I wasn't in one because, like, who would have benefited? Like, I needed all that help, and I wasn't capable of looking after a baby in that acute phase anyway. And my baby got really good care from my mum and my husband. So I don't know. In my experience, I'm quite comfortable with this with the situation I had without one. And I'm saying here, if I have to go to hospital again, I'd rather go to the hospital that I already know the people and the routine and everything. So it wouldn't be as traumatic to go there a second time. Yeah. And then I've got who can access my personal information, which I said is my husband. And I've also written in my care plan who I want to know that I'm unwell, right? Because basically no one got contacted the first time I was unwell and nobody knew what was going on, and they were quite worried. So I've written down a few people who are allowed to know that I'm in the hospital if I have to go again. Yeah. And on the third page, I've just got mental well-being strategies. I've got, so these are what I find helpful, or at the time I found helpful. Write 3 things that you're grateful for every day, and change negative thoughts. Parsis say good thoughts, good words, good deeds. Live by values. Weekly activities that follow my values and remove noise activities. Spend time with my family, spending time in nature, creating, appreciating beauty. Mindfulness, be in the present, don't judge my negative thoughts, and deep breathing. When I'm feeling overwhelmed, at that point I was having still some panic attacks. So my panic attack strategy was close my eyes, breathe, imagine floating in water on my parents' bush block or at the pool with Ollie. Write lists of things stressing, upsetting me, address each one individually to come up with a solution. Contact my mum, my husband, or the acute care team at the hospital. There you go. That's what my very detailed care plan has in it. We'll keep going on with the video. So I also, as well as having the care plan, I also had a panic box so that if I was having a panic attack, I could go to my room and open up the box. It had special things I cared about to distract and calm me, such as books, jewelry, and silk scarves. It's just a little thing that I did at the time, and it really helped. Just to help you look at something beautiful and help you have some nicer thoughts when you're going through a hard time. Alright, so here's some advice about care plans and just in general. Carry around emergency medication in case you forget or need additional medicine sometimes. I have emergency medications on me in my purse every day. I check that they're there. Carry around your care plan in your diary all the time, especially in those first few years. I don't carry one anymore. It's been nearly 6 years, but for the first few years, I always carried that around with me. Lock up your medication at home so it's safely away from children. I had a really bad experience where food got spilt, and I was in the middle of taking my medicine, and my toddler girl, my second child, she put it in her mouth. She was so quick. She was very quick, this little girl. She used to do stuff like this. But she put it in her mouth, but luckily she hated it. She crunched it and she hated it and she spat it out. And I managed to get it all out. But that was really unlucky. So ever since then, I've always locked all my medicines. They get stored up high, and the keys are never next to the lock with the medicine, right? So it's always in two different places. Set multiple alarms in the morning. If you're on a really high dose like me, just put 5. I set 5. I very often set 5 alarms in the morning to get up. But do whatever you can to get out of the bed in the morning. Be super careful driving, especially if you're on high doses of medicine and or taking sleeping pills, because that and your illness affect greatly your concentration. I mean, they tell you all this stuff about worrying about being suicidal and rah-de-rah-de-rah. But if you ask me, the most dangerous thing is the road and driving when you're taking all these medicines and you're not very well. You should, I drive like a granny all the time because I want to be here in a few years' time. Yeah, so be careful when you're driving. Okay, your illness isn't ruling you. You have to say to yourself that you rule it. For example, my psychiatrist always asked me bluntly if I was having suicidal thoughts in front of my toddler, who was getting older and older. I asked the psychiatrist to kindly find some gentler words to ask the same thing, since my toddler was getting old enough to recall such things. My doctor willingly obliged. So to me, that's just a little example. You are still you, and you are in control of the situation, and you are not your illness. You are you. You are you with this illness. So you need to still take control of things, and if you're feeling strongly about things, you need to talk them through with people. Yeah, you are still you. Okay, so the next part of this video was about having another child. So it's not recommended, but you can. Let's summarize it that way. I recommend staying with the same hospital from where you stayed in maternity the first time and at the psychiatric ward, if it was the same hospital, so that the hospital already knows your story. They already have all that information on their system. Okay, make a good plan. So during pregnancy, adjusting medications to be safe for the fetus. For example, no lithium in those first few months of pregnancy. During labour, plan a natural birth with epidural. I'll talk about this more in a minute. After the labour, you might get to stay 1 week in maternity under surveillance instead of having to go straight to the psychiatric ward. And this way you do get to stay with your baby for 1 week at the hospital. Yes. Find a great midwife and psychiatrist who both support your plan, right? Okay. Natural birth with epidural is the normal procedure in France. If I could change one thing in Australia, it would be this. In Australia, we have two systems. We have the public system that have natural births, mostly with gas, or you go to the private hospital, they give you an epidural, but they automatically give you a cesarean, and they have this theory that the baby's heads are too big, so we need cesareans. Honestly, the best system is the French system. We should all be able to have a natural birth with epidural because there's so much less trauma for the mother. But I don't know why they didn't do it in Australia so much. It's a political thing. But somebody needs to start fighting for that because it's impacting new mothers going through either the trauma of a very, very painful birth or the trauma of having a cesarean, which is a huge operation. Hello? It's not a small thing either. So that's my little thing about that. So this video was about making care plans. I've given you the example of my very detailed one. Maybe if I have time in the future, I can put some of it online. But honestly, you make your own care plan that suits you. And just going through the journey of making one helps you start to cope with things better and not be worried about if things are going to go down the girdler again. You know, you set that up, and there's plenty of websites helping you create care plans, and your doctors and nurses can also help you make a really good care plan. So best of luck with sorting that out for yourself. And I really hope that listening to my example one today has helped you. And anyone who's thinking about having a second child, I hope this is also giving you a few ideas of what you need to think about before you go down that path. Cool. Thanks very much. I'll see you soon.